I was working during my studies in organic and biodynamic wineries. I really enjoy a bit more funky aromas from the fermentation. Where I was working in Australia at McForbes, there I got to know more the whole bunch fermentation, what it can bring in aromatic diversity to the wines. And I had some big critique, especially with our Kékfrankos previously, so our Blaufränkisch, which were also quite important products. But previously, the old vines, what we have, which we have a single vineyard that is 50-year-old vines, we always aged much longer, so like 1.5 years in the barrel, and somewhat in new barrels as well. And I always noticed that after half a year, it was very expressive. You know, Blaufränkisch can be very, very fruit forward, very sexy in a way, I think, as a young wine. Also quite floral, and there is this black pepper spice. So it's a really charming primary aromatics, I think, that makes this variety very approachable. And I noticed that with this aging, and especially with the new barrels, some of it goes away and it becomes like a generic red wine. And I think we had enough generic red wine, or I personally would rather create something unique and not just nice red wine. So especially with Kékfrankos, there was this big shift of how to make this variety, how to show this primariness of the grape. But I also noticed that especially barriques and new barriques do add a lot of complexity and length to the sip, and through this added tannins also a density to the wine. And I think the challenge for me was how to add another layer or another depth to the sip, to the wine, but not through the barrel. And that's why I was motivated to go towards the whole bunch fermentations, and also the spontaneous fermentation adds, I think a bit more volatility, a bit more playfulness in the aromatics. And so therefore Heimann and fiai lineup has become much more, I think, if you want to call it natural wine influence, then we can call it natural wine influenced style. Although I wouldn't like to go to the extremes just to be a natural winemakers. And frankly, the 2018 vintage, with what we debuted, is still not organic. And if it's not organic, then I think it's not really true to call it natural wine. So, but definitely the influence is this more pure style of winemaking, what I would like to do. And definitely this path is what we are on. And since the 2018 two vintages has passed, and there is a lot that we have learned and continued. So the 2020 vintage was already a completely organic vintage. We started the certification as well. So yeah, this is the path. But anyway, I cannot sell that yet because that's not what we drink at this point.
Yeah. And one very timely and interesting question came from a Patreon supporter, because I have some fans who can ask questions, and I think that's one of the most interesting one. Which grape varieties do you actually use? And you concentrate on two indigenous or traditional varieties, Kékfrankos and Kadarka. And why did you choose these two varieties? And do you also plan to expand your portfolio, maybe working with other old varieties, for example, Bakator or Fekete Járdovány or Furmin, for example, also if we talk about wines? Or do you want to stick to these varieties also in the future?